On March 8, 2014, the world lost an airplane. Not in a storm of fire, not in front of cameras, but into silence. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing with 239 people on board. In an age defined by satellites, GPS, and real-time tracking, a Boeing 777 simply disappeared. This was not the dawn of aviation. This was not wartime chaos. This was modern, regulated, data-driven commercial flight. And yet, within hours, MH370 became one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. No distress call was made. No emergency code was transmitted. No debris field was immediately found. What followed was confusion, conflicting information, and a global search that would stretch across continents and oceans. Governments struggled to explain how an aircraft could vanish so completely. Families waited for answers that never came. This documentary is not about speculation for entertainment. It is about understanding how layers of technology, human decision-making, assumptions, and systemic gaps converged to allow a wide-body jet to vanish without a trace. MH370 forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Aviation is extraordinarily safe, but it is not omniscient. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 was operated by a Boeing 777-200ER, an aircraft considered one of the most reliable long-haul jets ever designed. By 2014, the Boeing 777 fleet had logged tens of millions of flight hours with an exceptional safety record. Airlines trusted it, regulators trusted it, passengers trusted it. The aircraft was equipped with redundant flight control systems, multiple navigation sources, satellite communication capability, and powerful Rolls-Royce Trent engines. It was designed to survive failures, not just one, but several simultaneously. Every critical system had backups. In theory, this airplane should never simply vanish. Maintenance records showed no unresolved technical issues prior to departure. The aircraft had recently undergone routine checks. Nothing in its history suggested impending danger. This absence of warning signs would later deepen the mystery. MH370 challenges a core belief of modern aviation, that technology creates visibility. The disappearance of such a well-equipped aircraft forced investigators to reconsider what tracked really means and what it does not. Inside the cockpit sat Captain Zahiri Ahmad Shah, a highly experienced pilot with more than 18,000 flight hours, and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, younger but properly trained and recently transitioned to the Boeing 777. Both were certified, rested, and cleared to fly. Behind them were 227 passengers from 14 different countries, along with 12 crew members. Among them were families, children, students, engineers, artists, and tourists. Each had a destination. Each had a future planned beyond that night. There was no sign of conflict on board. No unusual passenger behavior was reported. No alerts were triggered during boarding or taxi. Security checks were routine. When MH370 vanished, it did not only remove an aircraft from the sky, it suspended 239 lives in uncertainty. For families, the absence of answers would become more painful than confirmation of loss. MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 0041 local time. Weather conditions were stable. The flight plan was standard. Air traffic control communications were calm and professional. The aircraft climbed to cruising altitude and proceeded northeast toward its first waypoint. Everything unfolded exactly as expected. There were no abnormal readings, no urgent radio calls, no signs of stress. At 01:19, as the aircraft approached the boundary between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, the final voice transmission was made. "Good night, Malaysian 370. It was routine, polite, unremarkable. Moments later, MH370 disappeared from civilian radar. At the time, no alarm was raised. Aircraft regularly hand off between control regions. Silence, initially, meant nothing. At 01:21, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. To civilian air traffic control, MH370 no longer existed, but the airplane itself was still flying. Later analysis of military primary radar revealed something shocking. The aircraft had made a sharp turn west, deviating completely from its planned route. It crossed back over the Malay Peninsula and continued toward the Andaman Sea. This was not random drift. This was not the result of weather or turbulence. The turn required intentional input, either from a human or from systems deliberately configured. This single maneuver transformed the case from an accident into a mystery. From this point on, MH370 was flying without identification, without communication, and without oversight. For nearly 7 hours after vanishing from radar, MH370 continued to fly. Evidence came not from air traffic systems, but from satellite handshakes with an Inmarsat satellite. These automated pings did not transmit position, voice, or data, only confirmation that the aircraft's satellite unit was powered. Yet from timing and frequency shifts, analysts reconstructed arcs showing where the aircraft could have traveled. The result was chilling. MH370 likely flew south, deep into the Indian Ocean until fuel exhaustion. An aircraft full of people, flying through the night, completely silent, no mayday, no explanation, just mathematics, probability, and fading signals. The initial search focused on the South China Sea. It was based on the last known civilian radar contact, and it was wrong. This early assumption delayed critical efforts as search teams looked in waters where MH370 had never gone. As satellite data from Inmarsat emerged, the search zone expanded dramatically, stretching thousands of kilometers into the remote southern Indian Ocean. Naval vessels, surveillance aircraft, and deep-sea sonar systems from multiple nations were deployed. The ocean floor was mapped in unprecedented detail, revealing underwater mountains, trenches, and terrain more hostile than anticipated. Months turned into years. Billions of dollars were spent. Extreme depths, violent seas, and isolation slowed every operation. Despite the largest search in aviation history, no main wreckage was ever found. The ocean, vast and indifferent, kept its secret. One theory proposed a catastrophic onboard failure, fire, rapid decompression, or a severe electrical collapse. Aviation history offers grim precedents where hidden fires filled cockpits with toxic smoke, overwhelming crews within minutes and disabling communication systems before a mayday could be transmitted. In such scenarios, aircraft can become silent long before they fall. However, MH370's known flight path complicates this explanation. Radar data shows deliberate course changes, including a sharp turn and sustained, stable flight at altitude for several hours. A severely disabled aircraft rarely performs such complex maneuvers without pilot input. Mechanical failure may explain the silence, but it cannot fully explain the precision, duration, or apparent intent of the flight that followed. Early speculation quickly turned toward hijacking. The discovery that 2 passengers had boarded using stolen passports intensified suspicion and dominated early media coverage, raising fears of a coordinated terrorist act. Security agencies across multiple countries examined passenger backgrounds, travel histories, and potential extremist links. Yet, as the investigation deepened, the theory began to weaken. No organization claimed responsibility. No ransom demands were issued. No political or ideological message was delivered. Intelligence agencies found no credible connection to known terror networks. If MH370 was the result of terrorism, it was unlike any case the world had encountered, an act without publicity, leverage, or purpose, carried out in complete and deliberate silence. The most controversial theory suggests deliberate action from within the cockpit. Investigators revealed that simulated flight routes found on a home flight simulator raised troubling questions about possible intent, though none could be conclusively linked to the final path of MH370. The data offered possibilities, not proof. No definitive motive was ever established. There was no farewell message, no confession, no manifesto to explain such an act. Friends and colleagues described nothing out of the ordinary. This theory remains fiercely debated because it forces an uncomfortable truth. No matter how advanced aviation systems become, technology cannot fully eliminate the impact of human choice. In 2015, debris began washing ashore along the western Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers from the aircraft's last known radar position. Among the most significant discoveries was a flaperon found on Réunion Island, later confirmed through serial numbers and engineering analysis to belong to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. Additional wing fragments and interior panels were later recovered on the coasts of Africa and nearby islands. These pieces provided undeniable proof that the aircraft had crashed into the ocean, yet they answered none of the most critical questions. The debris revealed neither the exact location of impact nor the sequence of events that led to the crash. The main wreckage, where flight recorders and final evidence lie, remains missing, leaving the mystery unresolved. For families, MH370 created a unique and enduring form of grief, loss without proof. Without confirmed wreckage or a clear explanation, loved ones were suspended between hope and mourning, unable to fully accept death or hold on to certainty. Each new search announcement reignited expectation, only to be followed by renewed silence. There was no definitive timeline of the final moments, no physical place to grieve, no remains to bury. Legal closure often came before emotional closure. Over time, hope and despair became inseparable, existing side by side as families waited for answers that may never come. MH370
exposed a critical flaw in modern aviation. Commercial aircraft were not truly tracked in real time over remote oceans. Once beyond radar coverage, position updates were infrequent and often indirect, relying on systems not designed for continuous monitoring. The disappearance revealed how quickly an aircraft could slip beyond visibility. In response, global aviation authorities introduced improved tracking standards, expanded satellite-based monitoring, and new requirements for automated distress tracking. These changes were not driven by a crash investigation, but by absence itself. Aviation learned a hard lesson, not from impact, but from disappearance.
MH370 reminds us that aviation safety is not a final achievement, but an ongoing process shaped by lessons, vigilance, and humility. Technology reduces risk, but it cannot eliminate uncertainty. Somewhere in the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean, the aircraft rests beyond reach, carrying answers with it. Until those answers are found, MH370 remains a symbol of modern mystery, a reminder that between life and death, the sky can still choose silence.